Christopher Adams stood on the stage basking in the glow of the Midwest Corporate Annual Gala, ready to announce the promotion of his secret lover, Lauren Bennett. The applause was already rising when Mr. Thomas Whitaker, the board chairman, suddenly stepped forward. His voice cut through the glittering ballroom like a blade. "Before we proceed, the board must address a serious breach of our ethics policy." The room froze. Gasps spread as whispers rushed like wildfire. Photos, emails, altered files, proof of betrayal, both personal and professional, had been laid bare. Christopher's confident smile collapsed into panic. Lauren's radiant face drained of color, and in that instant, all eyes turned toward the woman standing calmly in the crowd, Sarah Mitchell, the wife he thought would remain invisible. What no one knew was that she had orchestrated this moment with quiet precision, and tonight everything was about to change forever. The message appeared on Sarah Mitchell's phone while she was chopping vegetables for dinner. "Love, I won't make it home tonight. I have an important meeting with clients that's running late." She would have believed it like she had the last dozen times, if not for the second notification that buzzed in right after. A credit card alert from their shared account. Reservation confirmed, Monroe's Trattoria, table for two. Her hands froze, knife still against the cutting board. Monroe's Trattoria, the place where Christopher Adams had gotten down on one knee 8 years ago, sliding a ring on her finger as he promised her forever. Their place. And now he was taking someone else there. Sarah's stomach hollowed. 8 years of marriage, of shared dreams and heartbreaks, including the baby, they had tried so desperately to have cracked apart in one careless digital ping. She sank into a chair, phone clutched in trembling hands. She could weep, break down, let betrayal crush her spirit. Or she could reclaim her dignity. Her mother's words came back like an echo. "Sarah, dignity is not something you negotiate. It's something you protect." Christopher thought she wouldn't notice. He thought she would stay invisible. But Sarah was done being invisible. The other woman wasn't hard to guess. Lauren Bennett, his new executive assistant. Sarah had seen the way Lauren looked at Christopher during a corporate dinner months ago, too poised, too polished, her smile calculated. The Instagram photos, the late nights, the scent of perfume on Christopher's shirts, it all fit together now like cruel puzzle pieces. But Lauren wasn't the only one with something to lose. Sarah remembered meeting Lauren's husband, Andrew Collins, at that same company event. A kind, soft-spoken corporate lawyer who spoke about his wife with such admiration. He didn't deserve this betrayal any more than she did. Sarah's fingers steadied as she picked up her phone. She dialed Monroe's Trattoria. "Monroe's Trattoria. How may I help you? I'd like to reserve a table for tonight, please." Her voice was calm, steady in a way she didn't recognize. "For what time?" 8:30 p.m. "And how many guests?" 2. "If possible, I'd like the table next to the reservation under Christopher Adams." "One moment." "Yes, table 7 is available. Perfectly beside his." "May I have your name?" Sarah drew in a long breath. "Sarah Mitchell." When she hung up, her hand hovered over her phone before dialing Andrew. It took 3 tries, her pulse fighting her calm. Finally, his voice came through. "Andrew Collins." "Andrew, it's Sarah, Christopher's wife." Her voice was quiet even though her chest burned. "Can you meet me tonight? It's important." A pause. "Did something happen with Christopher? I'd rather explain in person." "Monroe's Trattoria. 8:30. Please." Silence stretched before he finally said, "I'll be there." The moment the call ended, Sarah felt the shift inside her. A new strength, uncoiling, part fury, part grief, part resolve. She opened her closet and reached for the black dress she had been saving for some special occasion that Christopher never gave her. She painted her lips a shade bolder than she normally dared, lined her eyes with precision. Every brush stroke of makeup was no longer vanity, it was armor. Memories swarmed as she got ready. The nights Christopher came home smelling like a stranger. The phone calls he took in hushed tones, always walking into another room. The endless excuses, working late, emergency meetings, business trips extended by a day or two. Lies stacked so high they smothered the vows they had once exchanged. When Sarah finally looked at herself in the mirror, she didn't see the betrayed wife anymore. She saw someone ready for battle. At 8:30 sharp, Andrew was waiting outside the restaurant. His gray suit looked worn, his face tired. Still, he managed a gentle smile as he greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. "You look beautiful, Sarah, but your eyes..." They say something's wrong. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice taut. I'm sorry for the urgency. Don't apologize, Andrew replied softly. Lauren said she had a late meeting. I'm glad I'm not alone tonight. The irony cut deep. The same lie told to both of them, woven into their lives by the same people. The host led them to table 7, perfectly positioned, to see the entrance and the table right beside them. Table 8. Sarah's hands shook slightly as Andrew ordered wine. She took a sip, searching for courage. Then the door opened. Christopher walked in, polished, confident, checking his watch like a man with nothing to hide. And seconds later, Lauren followed, draped in a red dress that screamed anything but business meeting. Sarah's chest tightened as they were guided directly to table 8. She could feel Andrew's confusion until his gaze locked on his wife. His face shifted, shock, disbelief, then devastation. Sarah, what is this? She forced her voice steady. This is why I asked you to come. Christopher and Lauren, lost in their own little world, hadn't noticed them yet. Christopher reached for Lauren's hand across the table, smiled the smile Sarah once thought was hers alone. Lauren leaned in, whispering something that made him chuckle. Andrew's grip tightened on his wineglass, knuckles pale. I've suspected for months, Sarah whispered. Tonight I confirmed it. Andrew swallowed hard, his jaw clenched. She said she was working late, again. 2 weeks ago, I threw her a surprise birthday party. She showed up 3 hours late, said there was an office emergency. Sarah nodded numbly. Christopher said the same that night. The lies, the overlapping excuses, it all lined up with painful precision. At the table beside them, Christopher lifted his glass. To us, he said softly to Lauren, to a future together. The words sliced Sarah like glass. She wasn't even a person to him anymore. She was a situation to fix. Under the table, Andrew's hand brushed hers, a silent gesture between two people destroyed by the same betrayal. What do we do now? He asked, his voice ragged. Sarah looked at him, her fear slowly hardening into resolve. First, we have dinner. Then we show them we're not as invisible as they think. For the first time that night, Andrew's lips lifted into something like a smile. Sarah held her glass up, clinking it gently against his. It wasn't a toast to revenge. It was a toast to reclaiming the pieces of themselves they thought they had lost. And as Christopher and Lauren laughed carelessly, just inches away, Sarah felt the spark of something she hadn't felt in years. Strength. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. If you were, Sarah, would you have gone to the restaurant or stayed home in silence? Do you think Andrew and Sarah should immediately confront their cheating spouses or wait for the right moment? Have you ever seen lies unravel so perfectly that the truth became undeniable? The clinking of silverware and the low hum of conversation filled Monroe's trattoria. But at table 7, Sarah and Andrew sat in heavy silence. Their spouses were only a few feet away, laughing as though the world had never demanded honesty from them. Sarah's pulse throbbed in her ears as she forced herself to keep her eyes steady, her hand wrapped tight around her wineglass. They don't even see us, Andrew muttered, his voice low, but edged with disbelief. His wife tilted her head back, laughing at something Christopher whispered in her ear. They're so comfortable in the lie, they think it's bulletproof. Sarah swallowed the burn rising in her throat. That's their mistake. For months she had been bearing doubt, second-guessing her instincts. Tonight those instincts were screaming, and this time she wasn't ignoring them. They're celebrating something, Andrew observed, leaning closer, his expression darkening. Sarah caught Christopher's words as he lifted his glass to toast. To us, to the future we deserve. The words stabbed deeper than any lie. He wasn't even pretending she mattered anymore. She wasn't his wife, his partner. She was just an obstacle to be fixed. Andrew's hand brushed hers under the table, steady but trembling. So, what do we do now? March over there and blow this whole place up? Sarah shook her head slowly, eyes locked on the couple beside them. No, they want spectacle. They want to see us break. I won't give them that satisfaction. Andrew's brow furrowed, then what Sarah's lips curved, not a smile, but something sharper. We make sure their lies collapse around them, not just tonight, forever. She saw the confusion flicker in Andrew's eyes before realization settled. He leaned back, exhaling. You're serious. I've never been more serious. As the meal stretched on, their whispers stitched a plan together. Sarah recalled documents Christopher had once asked her to review when she was still a practicing lawyer. Back then, she had noticed something strange, a clause in the company's code of ethics Christopher himself had helped draft. A rule forbidding relationships between superiors and subordinates during promotion processes. It had seemed straightforward at the time, but tonight it felt like a loaded weapon. Andrew's expression hardened as he pieced it together. Lauren's up for that big promotion. She's been obsessing over it. And Christopher, he's her biggest supporter. Sarah nodded. If they've crossed the line, we don't need tears or shouting. We need evidence. Proof that will burn through their carefully built facade. Andrew's jaw tightened. I can get documents. Some of her case files run through my firm. And I know people who've seen things they shouldn't have. A waiter approached with fresh wine, but Sarah barely noticed. Her mind was racing. For the first time since discovering the affair, she felt something stir that wasn't despair. It was clarity. They've risked everything for their little secret, she whispered, and now we'll show them exactly what betrayal costs. Andrew's eyes flicked back to their spouses. Christopher was leaning closer to Lauren, his hand on hers, his smile intimate, careless. And for the first time, Andrew didn't look broken. He looked ready. The rest of dinner passed in a haze of hushed strategy. Sarah noted every detail, every careless touch between Christopher and Lauren, the way Lauren's phone buzzed constantly under the table, how Christopher's jaw tightened each time she checked it. They weren't as flawless as they wanted the world to believe. At one point, Sarah caught Christopher's words as he leaned close to Lauren. You need to relax. Once the announcement is official next week, none of this will matter. Sarah's heart kicked hard against her ribs. Announcement. That meant the promotion. That meant they were brazen enough to gamble both their marriages and their careers for it. When the check arrived, Sarah placed her hand lightly on Andrew's arm. Don't confront them tonight. We wait. We gather everything, and then we end this, where it will hurt most, on their stage in front of everyone. Andrew studied her for a long moment, then nodded. The gala? Yes. The annual gala. The board. The spotlight. They'll expect applause. Instead, they'll get judgment. For the first time that night, Sarah smiled, not with joy, but with purpose. She and Andrew weren't just two betrayed spouses licking their wounds. They were witnesses. They were the storm their partners never saw coming. When Christopher and Lauren finally left, fingers intertwined, Sarah and Andrew remained seated, watching them walk out into the night. They have no idea, Andrew murmured. Sarah raised her glass one last time, her voice calm and steady. To dignity. Andrew clinked his glass against hers. And to consequences. Outside the restaurant, the air was crisp, the Chicago skyline glowing against the night. Sarah pulled her coat tighter around her, but for the first time in months, she didn't feel small. She felt ready. Her marriage may have been broken, but her spirit was not. And soon, Christopher Adams would learn exactly what it meant to underestimate the woman he thought he could betray in silence. Sasha Nufurnam. Would you have confronted Christopher and Lauren right there at the restaurant, or waited like Sarah did? Do you think exposing them at the gala is the right move, or is it going too far? If you were Andrew, would you join Sarah in her plan for justice, or walk away from it all? The week between that night at Monroe's Trattoria and the Midwest Corporate Annual Gala felt like a lifetime. Sarah Mitchell carried herself with a calm she didn't know she had, but beneath it pulsed a fire of determination. Every evening she met with Andrew Collins in quiet cafes and libraries, spreading documents across wooden tables, whispering strategy like co-conspirators. Each page, each photo, each policy they uncovered was another nail in the coffin of Christopher Adams and Lauren Bennett's carefully spun web. Andrew had managed to gather internal memos and inconsistencies from Lauren's promotion file. Sarah unearthed the ethics policy Christopher himself had signed into practice, forbidding relationships that could influence promotions. The irony was almost poetic. Together they built a case not just of infidelity, but of betrayal on a corporate scale, something no board of directors could ignore. The night of the gala arrived under a clear Chicago sky. The ballroom shimmered with gold drapery and crystal chandeliers. Executives, investors, and their partners moved like glittering chess pieces, glasses of champagne in hand. Christopher stood near the stage in a sharp tuxedo, his smile charming but practiced. Lauren lingered nearby, her red gown bold, her eyes bright with anticipation. She thought she was on the verge of triumph, but Sarah had other plans. She entered the ballroom with Andrew at her side, his steady presence grounding her. Heads turned as they crossed the floor, Christopher's wife on the arm of Lauren's husband. A ripple of whispers spread, eyes narrowing with curiosity. Sarah could feel the heat of Christopher's stare from across the room, but she didn't flinch. Tonight she wasn't the woman he had dismissed. Tonight she was the storm. "Ready," Andrew whispered. "As I'll ever be," Sarah replied, her lips curving into a calm smile. When the program began, Christopher strode onto the stage, radiating confidence. "Good evening, everyone," he said smoothly. "It's my honor to stand before you tonight at our annual gala. And it's my privilege to announce the promotion of a truly exceptional leader, our new Director of Legal Affairs, Lauren Bennett." Applause rippled through the room. Lauren lifted her chin, basking in the glow, but then movement stirred near the front. Mr. Thomas Whitaker, the board chairman, stepped forward, papers in hand. He leaned toward the microphone, his expression grave. "Before any announcement is made official, there is something the board must address," he said. His voice carried the weight of authority, slicing through the applause. The crowd fell silent. Christopher's confident smile faltered. Lauren's painted lips tightened. "We have received credible information of a breach of our company's ethics policy," Mr. Whitaker continued. "Evidence has been presented showing an inappropriate relationship between an executive and a subordinate in the midst of a promotion process. Additionally, there are documented alterations to official files that cannot be ignored." Gasps filled the room. All eyes shifted toward Christopher and Lauren. Sarah watched from the crowd, her pulse steady, her breathing even. This was the moment. Christopher tried to step forward, his voice rising. "This is a misunderstanding," but Whitaker raised his hand, cutting him off. "The board has already reviewed the evidence, including emails, photographs, and testimony from staff. Effective immediately, Christopher Adams is suspended pending a full investigation. The promotion of Lauren Bennett is canceled." The room buzzed with shock and whispers. Lauren's face drained of color. Her dream had crumbled in an instant. Christopher's jaw clenched as he scanned the crowd, his eyes finally landing on Sarah. For the first time, she saw fear in him. When he descended from the stage, he made a beeline toward her, fury in his eyes. But Andrew stepped between them, his voice firm. "Not here, Christopher. You've already lost enough tonight," Christopher sneered. "How could you do this?" he hissed at Sarah. Her gaze was calm, her voice steady. "I didn't destroy you, Christopher. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure the truth wasn't buried." Lauren tried to interject, her voice cracking. "Sarah, please, you don't understand." Andrew's voice cut like steel. "No, Lauren, we understand perfectly. You gambled your marriage, your career, your integrity, and you lost. Don't put that on anyone else." Security and board members intervened, guiding Christopher and Lauren away as the gala dissolved into chaos. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders, not because the betrayal was undone, but because she had chosen to fight for her dignity instead of letting it be stolen. 3 months later, life looked very different. Sarah sat on the porch of her modest home, the same one Christopher had once tried to claim as his own. Now it was legally and fully hers. The divorce had been finalized swiftly. Christopher had no leverage left. His reputation shattered, his job gone. Lauren's name had become synonymous with scandal. No law firm in the city would touch her. Meanwhile, Sarah had stepped back into the world she once abandoned. She returned to law, taking on her first major case since leaving her career for Christopher's ambitions. Ironically, it was Mr. Whitaker himself who approached her, impressed by how she had handled herself during the gala. "We need women with your integrity," he had told her. Andrew remained a close ally, though their relationship was not one rushed by pain or revenge. They shared coffee, sometimes laughter, and often silence that needed no words. A bond born of betrayal had grown into something gentler, respect, and maybe in time something more. One evening, Sarah's mother Evelyn visited. As they shared tea, she looked at her daughter with a soft smile. "You're more radiant now than you were on your wedding day. Dignity suits you, Sarah." Sarah laughed, a sound lighter than it had been in years. Her mother was right. Out of heartbreak, she had discovered a new kind of strength, one that didn't rely on someone else's promises, but on her own resilience. She often thought back to the night she had seen that credit card notification. That one moment had felt like the end of her world. But now she realized it had been the beginning of something far more valuable, the reclaiming of herself. As the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet, Sarah breathed deeply at peace with the unknown future. For the first time in years, the uncertainty didn't frighten her. It thrilled her. Because she had learned the truth, even the deepest wounds could become the source of a woman's greatest strength.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.